Hi, everybody. I know it's really late, really a lot going on. And I know I say that every night because it is just, can you imagine? We're getting millions of views, and just a lot of information coming in, and talking to a lot of people, a lot of investigations going on right now. Um, and we heard um, from the Texas Supreme Court today. So we'll absolutely inform you more about that. But it is all about the border. It is all about the border being very secure right now, and the monies um, that was supplying that, which was taxpayers' money, the U.S. aid, um, that spigot has been turned off, and so a lot of things are going on. And we've been, of course, with Richard's case. Um, it's so big. It's so big. It makes the Iran Contra, which was El Paso. That happened. That originated in El Paso, the Iran Contra scandal, and that scandal looks just like child play compared to this. And so, um, to, and of course, it's going to be manipulated. Of course, it's going to try to be controlled. Of course, there's compromise. Of course, there's corruption. Of course, there's absolute criminality. And, I'm just not going to lie to you. Um, this case is so big that, just expose, the longer it kind of goes on, I think, the less they can control it, the less they can corrupt it, the less they can compromise it, because it's a fact that Richard's case is tied to the Walmart mass shooting case. It's a fact that Brian Blake Crucius, Patrick Crucius's brother from the Walmart mass shooting case, is married to Alexis Mayella, the federal courthouse manager's daughter, um, which is huge. Uh, and if you know the two cases, your jaw just dropped. Your jaw just dropped. Um, and it's worse because the brother-in-law, or the Crucius brother-in-law, the uh, son of the courthouse manager, Michael Gianni Mayella, was working for Walmart cybersecurity, was working with Jaime Esparza in the DA's office, was working in the FBI field office there in El Paso. Um, and his dad's in the federal courthouse. Total access to cases, total access to files. And he's a trained hacker. Not only is he a cyber security um, technician, but he is a trained hacker, and a very good one, a very good trained hacker. Um, which makes this even more. I mean, well, the whole thing is criminal, because there was a quid pro quo with Bob Moore, with El Paso Matters. And El Paso Matters is really the topic of all of this, with the treason that Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe has totally engaged in. I mean, he's still engaging in it, okay? It was a mutiny. There was a mutiny against President Trump Absolutely, in his first administration, all the way until the election. And then, even then, the Trump derangement syndrome. And Bob Moore has it, right? Because with all of the evidence, he still has not reported on the Mayella Crucius connection, the Mayella Crucius family connection, which debunks everything that he is trying to put into the AI. You see, when he writes a article, he's putting it into the AI. He's feeding the world false information. And I think that should be a crime. It's almost bigger than treason, right? It's almost bigger than treason because he is feeding the the world who uses AI regularly and who uses AI right now. It is news agencies, it is law enforcement, it is the intelligence community, um, it is um, the criminal judicial system. That is, it is university professors, right? It is, that's who's using people that are investigating, people that are doing research. They are using the AI. Uh, Huge. I mean, if you are a law student, they have to really check your papers and have very, very strict rules because there is so much use of the AI. And I'm going to give a talk just all about the AI one day. One day soon. I really will, because I think it's very, very important to address why Bob Moore of El Paso Matters is blatantly lying over and over and over again. And not just one narrative, many different narratives. And he puts it in the internet, he puts it in the cloud, and the cloud becomes the source for the AI. And so then when you search the AI, you're going to get lies. And I think that that is really um, so treasonous to the world, right? To the whole world, to the progression of the world, because there's no language stops anymore. The AI uh, you can research it and Japanese, you can research it in German, you can research it in English, you can research it in numerous languages, in Spanish, numerous languages. And you're going to get false information because of a discredited, disgraced reporters that are trying to cover for cartel criminal trafficking network activities and contractors, right? Contractors, all kinds of criminals. And so what he's doing is not just hurting the United States, not just hurting El Paso, not just hurting the United States, but really hurting the world for getting truth. It's such tampering. It's hard to wrap your mind around it. But um, but it is lies. It's feeding the world lies. And those lies have major consequences now because of the AI. And I don't think that the laws are addressing the crime that Bob Moore is now engaged in. So, of course, El Paso is furious. And of course, they read these lies. I've gotten so much feedback. They read these lies, about the narrative of the lone shooter, the narrative about the manifesto, the false narrative, I should say, the false narrative of the lone shooter, the false narrative of um, uh, that it was random and that he just kind of chose El Paso. The false narrative of Patrick Crucius, period. I mean, the whole false narrative surrounding him, the false narrative of the hate crime, the false narrative of the backroom deals, of false narrative of his Patrick Crucius's um, autism and severe mental health conditions, the false narrative of the motive for the shooting, the false narrative that there was a trial. There was never a trial. The false narrative of, you know, being so good to the victims and everything like that, or who the victims are. That's all a false narrative, right? It's such a false narrative. Um, who Bob Moore is, that, Bob Moore is under investigation. He is part of Richard Halliday's case, and he's part of the Walmart case. He's part of it because he tampered in it, and he's under investigation. And so here we are, 1,722 days. And that's not total, and I've been very transparent, because we have a week in there that we're not sure. We have a bunch of information, but and I think that's why, the whole thing with the body and all of that. But we have our suspicions on the day that Richard was murdered. And, here we are. There's no arguing that we're almost 5 years investigating our son's murder. And not only investigating it and identifying the crimes, and organizing the crimes, like hard evidence, circumstantial evidence, um, irregularities, but we are documenting them. We're putting the pieces together, and we are filing them. And we have filed, oh my God, I can't even tell you how many we filed, because just to one agency alone, just to one person in one agency that we just submitted a criminal complaint about, 21 criminal complaints. 21 criminal complaints. That's just one, and it's just many, 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 right? Many. And you name the agency, and there's a very, very good chance that we've written them multiple times, more than that. And I would, oh gosh, if I could count it all, because every time we write something, it goes to multiple people. But sometimes more than 100 people, right? So absolutely, we have so many agencies involved. And I want to point this out, because one of the comments on the treasonous millions of views for the treasonous Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe, rightfully so, he's totally treasonous, and he needs to be held accountable for that to the highest extent, because the treason is so high and so deep and so wide and so constant, so severe, that he needs to be held to the highest extent, um, right, for treason. And I think that's the death penalty, because they just never get a belly full. They keep going, keep going, keep going. And I saw that General, Mike, what's his name? It'll come to me. Michael Flynn, that General Michael Flynn called for the arrest of even Obama. Um, Clapper and um, who's that other guy too? The intelligence community, um, for their treason, right? So so it's all things are starting to happen. There's a lot of investigations going on. But, Bob Moore, with his false stories, it's so egregious because he can absolutely, with the power of the pen, um, he could absolutely uh, expose the truth. We have given it to him way over 15 times. We've communicated with him. Um, and he won't have anything of it. His belly's never full of the evil. I think he has to have evil to survive now, right? He just has to drink it and eat it, and he's just up to no good. And he's fooling um, so many people, but I don't think anymore. I don't think so many people are fooled by him anymore from the feedback that we're getting. So why is he putting out this false narrative, the false narrative of the white supremacists, and then saying this is not political, but saying, oh, it's all Trump, falsely, right? When Trump was the target, right? They absolutely did not want that closed border. They did not want USA to be that spigot to be turned off. Um, they absolutely want to continue doing their trafficking on Fort Bliss because they get the Department of Defense budget to do it, right? They can put up their death camp. And that's not my words, the death camp. That is what Fort Bliss inhabitants have nicknamed the emergency intake center, the death camp, where 10,000 children at a time could be housed and trafficked. And I say housed because those are the contracts. Okay. I'm not saying that in a nice, like, oh, they were taking such good care of these children. No, no, these are taken children. And the contracts um, were part of this. The contracts for the tents, the contracts for the sidewalks, the contracts for the blankets, the contracts for the pillows, the cots, the everything, right? That's all part of this. So they were taken children and they were trafficked through Fort Bliss, hundreds of thousands of them. And that has been confirmed over and over and over again. And the secrecy of it or the guarding of it and the strict orders and what was going on there was so terrible. Um, y- they so many of them are now mostly dead, and that's not me saying that. That's the congressional hearing. That's President Trump. Um, with all of his intelligence, because he wouldn't say it unless he had the intelligence to back it up, because he is so scrutinized, right? They will look at all the judges that will take him to court. So it's, and from all the information that we're getting, it is all corroborated. And that's what Richard was reporting on. And Richard's case came before the Walmart mass shooting. Okay. That's what I explain it to so many people because they don't understand how Richard's case is intertwined with the Walmart case because they don't really know who Rosa Maria Valdez Garcia is and Danae Katzen, because for the longest I just called Danae Katzen the credit card girl or Jane Doe. Um, they don't realize that Danae Katzen is married to Jonathan Ambrose, and that he was in 143 ADA on Fort Bliss, um, that he's connected to Dallas Hart, that they're connected to Leilani Hart, that they're connected to that family, and that family is CID Tavita Nusa. There on Fort Bliss. And, so it gets complicated because that family is then connected to Nadal Baim, the Palestinian that somehow is very connected to the FBI, Jesus Nieto Jr., who then his wife, Cynthia Hernandez, is in intelligence. And then, of course, they're connected to back to Soto again. Soto, um, Marlon Soto, the CID agent in charge there on Fort Bliss, and all under the nose and under um, the approving orders of the treasonous um, failed leader of Sean Bernabe, who got a star out of this. So then you look at the Senate Arms Committee, right? So that's all, you know, it's like, okay, but how now? I'm confused now. How is Richard's case part of the Walmart case, right? How are they together? And so I, have to stress, um, do not think July 2020. Richard's case started before August 3rd, 2019. It started before that Walmart shooting ever happened. And he was whistleblowing. And I know, because I talked to him, um, what he witnessed in Qatar turned his stomach. Okay. Um, it was very bad. And it was so bad. And so when he came back from, and it was so bad, and you have to understand Richard too. His stomach wasn't turned so easily. Um, whatever, and I, so what made him, um, his stomach turned so bad? When he called us, he said, I'm not going to become a CID agent. Because remember, and a lot of people don't know this, but he wanted to be a CID agent. He wanted to, he was a Sherlock Holmes fan. He was a white collar fan. He was Psych, that show Psych. He loved solving crimes. He loved solving crimes. And he, he was like, I cannot stay in this military. No way. I've got to get out. And he talked to his dad, and so yeah, it was so bad, and he became a whistleblower. When he got back from Qatar, he made that video, that he rather burn his money than spend it on whores and blow. That really tells you a lot about what was going on there. And that's been corroborated over and over and over again. I mean, my goodness, a 14-year-old girl was living in the barracks for 4 months, being exploited for 4 months. I'm sure she had a teddy bear to comfort her for being exploited and exploited and exploited for 4 months. And she was the stepdaughter of one of the security guards under DES Thomas Kane. So they were bringing in girls, young girls, to compromise our soldiers. They were putting stumbling blocks in front of them. And today is, well, it's it's past. Yeah. I won't be coming on later, tomorrow. I won't be coming on. It's the one day I don't come on. Um, because of Good Friday, and and we really need to consider that really strongly, because the only thing that makes sense when you're looking at a case like Richard's is the truth about um, the human nature, how Christianity views it, and what it needs. So, when I try to explain to people that Richard um, valued his soul more than anything, right? I would say it different. He valued God more than anything. And so however God saw his soul, that was important to him. And that's why he made that video, that he rather burn his money. Money wasn't his aim. And, you know, um, and I've always taught them, and Rob has always taught them to do very well in life, right? To do very well, work very hard. Um, don't be a slouch. Pay your own way. Don't exploit. Pay your own way. Don't be a grifter. Pay your own way. Work hard. Be a blessing. So it's not that we didn't, um, value earning, but it wasn't number one. It wasn't number one. And he made that very clear in that statement. And he made it very clear that what was going on Fort Bliss was whores and blow and guns. Whores and blow and guns. We know that. Um, it was, and they will use these vices. I call them vices, um, to compromise our soldiers, silence a whistleblower, because they videotape everything. And so, you know, you exploit a 14-year-old girl, you bring on all these young girls onto base during a lockdown, and they have substances with them, and then there's illegal guns everywhere. Um, and you're videotaping all of that. I mean, that's why I say Richard's such a hero, because he has so many enemies and they have nothing. They have nothing on him. That's how sparkling clean he is. They tried. They even tampered with a photo, but they tampered it with Dallas Hart's face. With Dallas Hart's face, can you believe it? So they just dig their own hole, and Richard just sparkling clean. Because let me tell you, if they had anything to exploit him, they tried to do it a little with Boleyn, and they just don't have anything, right? He's just telling her, don't do it, don't do it, don't get on to the into the sex cult world. Um, they say they respect you, but they don't. And the guys, they're just horny. They just want to see you naked. That's what he told her. Um, you know, He is just amazing. And he was had just turned 21 when they murdered him. So his case started before the Walmart mass shooting, and their target was Trump. And Richard empowered Trump. He empowered Trump because Trump had a whistleblower, and Richard was documenting and was whistleblowing. And of course, Trump is magnificent, right? He's magnificent. But if you're a chief law enforcer, like President Trump was and is, and the commander in chief, and Richard is, a soldier, whistleblower, he's empowering him with information and with official complaints that are documented. And so the target was Trump, right? Because he's the one, you know, Richard could whistleblow with you know, uh, a cartel compromised president, and nothing would get done. But with President Trump, he's not cartel compromised, and he was auditing, he was investigating, and Richard empowered him for that, to do that with others, I'm sure others, but Richard really so. And we're even getting information that right before they murdered him, ICE 160. That was the number that was given to us. I'm not sure, but we corroborated it. It's loads of ICE agents coming on, and Richard was a witness to the horrible criminal trafficking network that had developed on Fort Bliss. And so that's why President Trump was the main target, and Richard then became a secondary target. So his case came first. And then the Walmart mass shooting was a diversion. It was a diversion, but not only that, it served also a purpose, and that will come out. And it's not what you think. It's demonic. It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. And absolutely, it's cartel tied. Cartel tied, which means it's also tied to Fort Bliss and also to the criminal justice system there in El Paso. That's why you see such cooperation and collusion, conspiracy surrounding the Walmart mass shooting case, and so much money that El Paso Matters was set up after the Walmart case, after the Walmart shooting, and they have spent I don't know how much money on these false narratives to protect their trafficking syndicate that they have there. Their, cartel tied trafficking network that includes the VA, that includes Fort Bliss, that includes the criminal justice system there in El Paso. So it's a lot of money. Look at just for Kamala Harris's campaign that was co-chaired by Veronica Escobar, who just reannounced her candidacy. She has to. It's not a shocker. She has to. Because if she does not retain any kind of semblance of power, if she just becomes a regular civilian, um, she's in big trouble. It's her position that is safeguarding her crime. Her crime. And it's huge, and it's treasonous also. And she absolutely worked with Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe and Nieto, um, FBI agent Nieto. That those three, they had to work together to keep Richard's case and the Walmart case from being exposed for the truth that it is, which is coming out now. It's going to come out. Um, and just hold on to your seats because it really, it's huge. So, and we've been right all along. And Bob Moore, even in his lying, he had to admit that um, Sam Madrano gave up jurisdiction without telling the DA, which is illegal, which is criminal, and gave up the jurisdiction to the federal court, which the state court always had jurisdiction because Patrick Crucius was indicted by the state first. So they had the primary jurisdiction, the original jurisdiction. And, for a long time, the narrative um, was just clouding that because they had committed a crime by not telling the DA that they had made this backroom deal to let the federal case go first and give the federal case a jurisdiction that was rightfully the state and rightfully belonged to Yvonne Rosales, who then they called incompetent because she was the only one that was seeking a trial date for the Walmart mass shooting case. And also, her administration was the only administration that was actively investigating Richard Halliday's case, the corruption on Fort Bliss, which I'm sure it included Glennon Oakley Jr. So I think that it's very very clear that Bob Moore, and I put together some riddles and knock knock jokes and um, for people to kind of understand in a simple way what a joke Bob Moore is, how he's just discredited, he's a disgrace, and he needs to be arrested because his, El Paso Matters is a 501c3, and he's supposed to be neutral. He's not neutral, y'all. He's very, very biased. And they all have larceny in their heart. They just all want to steal from, they say the state, but it's not. It's from you and me, it's from our future. And they want to steal the truth. And that's what they're doing with the AI. They're putting in false information into the document system because they tamper with documents all the time. And the AI gets its information by scanning the documents. And if the documents are tampered and have lies, um, and on purpose, then we're going to be told lies. Just like Lieutenant General Sean Bernabe told us lies about Nadal Bayim, about Danae Katzen, about Judge Roger Rodriguez. I mean, he had Judge Roger Rodriguez's whistleblower complaint in his hand, identifying the suspects, the mother of Richard's platoon leader and a CID agent, and did not call us, did not tell us. And he had it in his hands. It is, it's obvious that this is deliberate, that this is a destruction to control the people, to preserve a criminal activity, and and they're no good at it, right? as what is it? Veteran biker was telling today that they're like Dumb and Dumber, like Dumb and Dumber. Um, yeah. So we have Dumb and Dumber as generals. Um, it's very dangerous, and I don't think it's a game. I don't think it's a joke. But if we can use music and riddles to help us understand what's going on here so we understand what's at stake, what's going on, and what we need to do. What we need to do is you need to document, check for yourself what we have been saying about the criminal law magistrate court, about the DA's office. You can do FOIAs about Fort Bliss and document what you find out and file it. File it. And, at the very beginning, it's kind of a little bit of an inconvenience, but, once you have it and keep a little notebook for, uh, reference of what you filed, um, you're changing the world because we're a government of the people, by the people, for the people. And it is huge. It is huge. And it has allowed us to um, get the declaration of death for Richard. And of course, when Trump became president 4 days later, they gave us the truth in the line of duty. Why? Because Trump knows that Trump knows about Richard. Because Richard empowered President Trump and with the whistleblowing. And it was really important because the people that were doing this crime um, were absolutely targeting President Trump. And there still are. They still are. So, yeah, it is really, you think, oh, Trump can handle it. No, he needs you. He needs us. He needs the people. And that's why he spends so much time getting to know the people and interacting with the people so that the people get to know who he really is because there are so many lies. So I just want everyone to know that we are absolutely in communication with very high individuals and but they do not compare to you. That million view Facebook post is so powerful. So powerful. So we want to thank you very, very much for that. Please share. Please share the other ones. Please give us tips on what you need explained. We will do our best to post explanations on things that, you know, um, you may be confused on. We'll be very glad to help you on that one. So, anything to share? And, I know that the military is watching this very, very closely. So, thank you so much. God bless you on this. Here we are. And I do, let's talk about this for a minute. It's 1 o'clock a.m. Um, so, for this time, these 72 hours, and what am I talking about? I'm talking about when Jesus was handed over into the hands of men, into the heart of the earth. And, many people think that the 3-day hell was when he died on the cross. But the 3-day hell started tonight, started on Monday, Thursday night when he was betrayed by Judas. That's when the 72 hours began. Um, that's when he was handed by that Judas kiss. The Judas kiss started this betrayal into the hands of sinners, into the heart of the earth. And if you go and look up in Bible verses, the heart of the earth is sinners, you and me, you and me. Um, so Jesus was handed into um, the heart of the earth, into the hands of sinners. And it started now. And it is um, a very dark time. But there's a glorious end, right? Because he defeated death, and um, he defeated them. Well, he redeemed us. And so he lives. And so in this really sad 72 hours, there's a glorious end, um, to teach us to live in the light, to teach us to live in the life. He is the life. So I hope that helps explain Eastertide, this Passion time of Jesus. And it started Monday night. Thursday, Monday, is how we got that whole Easter basket um, tradition where, you would take a basket and fill it with some really goodies. It could be meat and cheese and wine, and it could be eggs and all kinds of nice things. And you would give it to somebody maybe less fortunate, somebody that, your neighbor, your children, whatever. And that's how Easter baskets came to be. It was a time of humility and of giving of yourself, cleaning, cleaning each other's feet, right? And so, but it was also, that was the last lesson, right? That Jesus taught before he was handed into the hands of men. And Satan had dominion for a short time, a very short time. But there's a glorious end. So thank you so much. God bless you. And I will be back tomorrow, God willing. Bye bye.